Pete Elliott.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Chief. Good job.
Thank you.
I just want to congratulate the chief here on a great investigation that he put forth. Mr. Gerdo, as he said, was arrested about 1:40 this morning by a very good police officer who was actually sitting and parked in the sheets on Nicholson Road in Franklin Borough. This officer I talked to this morning immediately recognized Gerdo. He was wearing camouflage, carrying a backpack. The officer went up to Gerdo and asked him his name. Gerdo admitted his name was Joshua Gerdo. Gerdo had, in that backpack, had maps for the state of Pennsylvania and for the state of New Jersey. He had a knife and he had a tent. Again, he admitted his name. This sheets last night, or early this morning, it was about 5 miles north where Gerdo was identified previously. I want to give credit to a lot of people in this case. Chief Nicholas, Ohio Township Police Department, did a phenomenal job yesterday coordinating this investigation. His department, obviously Franklin Borough Police Department. One thing that led us to this area was about a week ago, when I think it was October 13th exactly. There was an individual that had a gray Ford pickup truck that picked up Gerdo hitchhiking. We were able to identify that vehicle and tie it to an individual in the Buffalo, New York area, where the Marshal Service went and interviewed that individual in Buffalo, New York, and he said he picked up Gerdo and dropped him about 20 miles north of the location of Sewickley, Pennsylvania. So I want to give a shout out to the Pennsylvania State Police and also the New York State Police, along with the Marshal Service in those areas, BCI here in the state of Ohio, who did a phenomenal job being able to get that license plate off that vehicle and identifying that individual and tying him to that truck. That led us to that area in Sewickley and eventually led us to the arrest of Gerdo. I want to give credit to you guys, the media. Received a number of calls from you guys, but you guys did a phenomenal job closing down his world. We made Gerdo's world very, very small. We had him up on billboards. You guys had him on all your stations, newspapers, and so on. You guys did a phenomenal job of getting the word out there for us, and we really, really appreciate that. Also, Dan DeVille is here from my office, who led the investigation on our side. He did a phenomenal job coordinating this. So again, there was a lot of partners in this whole case. Since day one, we've been after him. You know, I feel very bad for Serenity's family, and you know, nobody should have to lose a child to violence. And again, this was a coordinated effort by everybody, and I'm very proud of all our teamwork on this case that made a tremendous difference. Jim?
I'd just like to thank all the other agencies in Ohio and Northwest Pennsylvania, and as well as my own staff who did a spectacular job in this investigation.
Chief, is there any idea where Mr. Gerdo has been for the past 2 weeks besides where he was picked up?
Well, we believe he's been in the woods the entire time. He had a backpack, he had a tent. We believe he was in the woods last night. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but all indications are and were he was hitchhiking, we know that, and he was camping out in the woods.
Peter, there's some talk out of Franklin Park that some of the officers that actually apprehended him this morning kind of alluded to the fact that maybe he was just done running and he was, you know, didn't put up any sort of resistance when they called out his name this morning. Can you talk to that at all? Well,
usually through our experiences, everybody tells us that they're going to turn themselves in that day. So that tends to never be the case, and I don't think it was the case. And he had maps of Pennsylvania and New York. Again, we made his world with you guys very small, and that's what made a difference. He really had nowhere to run and nowhere to hide.
He was arrested in Pennsylvania. Now, is there an extradition process to get him back to Ohio?
He's in Allegheny County Jail at this point. I expect that he'll be brought back here to Ohio probably within the next 3 to 5 days.
There was another man in the photo that you guys were looking for, did they think that that was an accomplice or anyone helping him?
No, that was the individual in that photograph who had that Ford 150 pickup truck. We were able to identify him. And again, that was a phenomenal job by the New York State Police and the Pennsylvania State Police and the BCI, our office, Conneaut, everybody working together on this. They were able to actually identify this license plate. And if you remember from the photograph, it was blurry. You couldn't see it. They just narrowed down cars and were able to identify this individual. And it turned out that individual in that photograph was an individual that lived in the Buffalo, New York area whose father reported him missing. And he went to Ohio and picked up a hitchhiker, and his car broke down out here. And his father had to come to Ohio and pick him up. So that's what kind of like led us to the general area of Sewickley in that 20-mile radius of where he was dropped off.
So was that picture taken when they were making a stop during the drive or something?
That picture was taken when, Dan?
In Girard, PA.
In Girard, PA.
So nobody was helping him then?
Nobody was willingly helping him. All that individual knew is he picked up a guy named Joshua and dropped him off about 20 miles north of Sewickley, Pennsylvania.
So that person's not going to face any charges?
He will not face any charges.
When the day that this happened and they were questioning he and his girlfriend, was there not enough to keep him in custody at that time?
That's correct. There was not enough evidence at the time to hold him.
What this man is accused of is horrific, and I know a lot of the detectives, a lot of people have been saying how bad this has been. Can you talk a little bit about that, on how bad of a case this has been, and how happy you guys are that someone has been brought in?
Yeah, we're elated that he's been captured. Cases involving children like this are always the hardest types of cases to deal with. And as I indicated, Detective Michael Sullivan, Detective Michael Bertolini, working nonstop on this since it came in. Their efforts certainly need recognized.
Do we have more information about this time, about the circumstances surrounding Serenity's death and what ultimately led police to focus on Mr. Gerdo?
No.
There's nothing new, no.
Do you anticipate any additional charges against other individuals in the case?
Not at this time. We don't. Again, what we know is he was hitchhiking. The people that did pick him up did not know who he was. And again, you know, I can't stress enough the partnerships that made a difference in tracking this individual down. And I give credit to that young police officer in Pennsylvania that spotted him and did the right thing and approached him. And the chief in Ohio Township told me today that one thing about the young officer, and it's very tough to do, especially with a case like this, is he treated Mr. Gerdo with respect. Gerdo admitted his name, didn't make any statements after that, and again, was arrested. So it was a great job by that police officer.
Where where was Gerdo hitchhiking? Where was he picked up by the truck driver before they headed into Pennsylvania? Was he in Ohio? Was he in Pennsylvania?
He was, I believe, Dan, Girard, Pennsylvania.
He was already in Girard.
Yeah.
So you don't know how he got to Girard.
He was picked up in Girard, correct? And
But
then he
like
was
from
dropped
here,
off
you don't
to...
know where he got picked up from here to there because he had no car.
No, I don't know that.
Okay.
Correct? Correct. Yeah, we don't know that part.
So the person from Buffalo picked him up near Girard, Pennsylvania, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and do we know where they traveled from there?
Yeah, about 20 miles north of Sewickley,
Do you
Pennsylvania.
know where Gerdo told him he wanted to go? Like, you don't know if he said, take me 20 miles or take me to...
I think he told him near Pittsburgh.
The truck broke down.
And the truck broke
Oh.
down, and that's how we ended up in that area. So again, we had countless tips on this throughout this whole investigation that made a difference. Some were good and some were not good at the end of the day. And we followed up on a number of leads. It took a lot of work on everybody's part standing behind me here. That made a tremendous difference. And you know, again, I stress that, and I'll continue to stress that. Teamwork and partnerships and help with you and the media made a difference in bringing this individual into custody.
Do you know anything he's done with the girlfriend?
We've dealt with Mr. Girdle on several occasions. It's a small town here. We pretty much know everybody. There's been a few scrapes, but with the police here, but nothing really too serious.
Any further questions? Well, great job to you guys for putting it out and profiling him, and I know I received countless calls, as the chief has, and everybody else on this, but you know, you guys did a tremendous job getting the word out and putting his face out there, and again, we shrunk his world and made it very, very small. So thank you.
Thank you.